Right, for those who don't know, I'm Andy Tattersall, and I started Bite Size on a whim 5 years ago, and the first one actually, you remember, just pointed out, the first one was about Mendeley 5 years ago. So 109 on. This is a bit of a stopgap because we were going to do one, me and Surinder were going to do one on the Impact Cup Toolkit, but that's been postponed until hopefully early 2016. So this one I thought I'd do quickly because I did this for the faculty Bite Size last week. They asked me to go and do one on Google Apps. So I went up, and we used to do a faculty Bite Size one, which kind of fizzled out. And then when I went up last week, expecting to speak to 5 people, there was about 60 odd. So that's thriving well up at the faculty. So here's quick 20 things that you need to know about Google Apps. You may know many of these, you may not already. And I think this lamp's on its way out, so apologies for the screen. Always a little bit of a nudge to a series of videos I've made, nearly 50 videos called ScHARR Research Hacks, which are quite useful. They're on iTunes U, or if you do a search on YouTube for ScHARR Vids, you'll find loads and loads of little short hack videos on everything from altmetrics to Google Docs, Google Forms, Trello, even things like meditation, things like productivity tools, stuff like that. So a little plug for the research hacks. So 20 ways to improve your Google experience. We have a Google Apps for Education license, which started off with basically 4 tools, which was Drive, Sites, Calendar and Email. We've since gained other things along the way, like Google Classroom. We've also got Google Vault, but we've got loads of other stuff that people may not have explored too. So first of all, I'm just going to show you a few tips on how to try and get a bit more out of email. For those of you using Thunderbird, you get a much better experience using the web client, because it means you can access your email anywhere. And one of the things you can do is you can have instant chat. So if you've not got that, you can start to chat with your colleagues. I use it quite a bit. It's a good alternative to long email exchanges. You want a quick answer, someone's online, you chat with them. Quite often I chat with Matt, he's quite often at home, and we can have a little kind of conversation. This screenshot was taken late at night, so all my contacts are offline. Usually this is a stream of green lights. To turn on chat, you go into your settings up here, and there's an option there to put chat on, because it's always off by default. So it's a useful thing to have. You can set it that you're away, you can set it that you're invisible, if you don't want people to bother you, so you can make it look like that. Number 2 is labs. Labs is in your little cog here, settings, and you've got labs. And labs are various things that are not necessarily made by Google, but get Google's approval. And you can turn these on and off, so you can have like a marker's red button, you can have this little green robot that shows if people are connected via their phone, you can have a little kind of Google Calendar widget sitting within your email. You can turn them on and off as you wish, so it's certain things just to kind of have a play with. Number 3, advanced search in email. One of the problems is a lot of people aren't very good at managing their email. I'm an information specialist, so hopefully I know how to manage information, but even I struggle dealing with all this. I've been here in ScHARR for 14 years and I've got around 12,000 emails, which is nothing. And I get a lot of emails a day. I get about 150 emails a day, but I'm very good at getting rid of them. I've got colleagues who've got 40, 50,000 emails. I bet Simon Dixon's got a couple of 100,000 because he doesn't ditch any of them. So the search is okay, but what you start to find is you start to search for things like, I've had an email from so and such, and you get loads of stuff that you thought, what's this? I thought I got rid of this. These shouldn't be right. So what you can do is go to the top little kind of search button, there's a little kind of option, and it brings down an advanced search. So that allows you to search between, say, like a date parameter. So you think, well, I had an email from Mari, and I know it was in April, so I'll just search for Mari in April. I can put who the email came from specifically. I can put who I sent the email to specifically. So it filters it down just to those parameters. I can put what the subject may have been if I'm certain what the subject is, and if I'm not certain, I can include certain words. So it gets the kind of the feedback that you get. So if you do have an awful lot of emails and you do build up a lot of emails, it's good to kind of drill down, because you end up just going through pages and pages of stuff trying to find them. You can also search specific tabs and folders. So instead of doing like all mail, you can think, right, I know I will have saved this in this folder. It's a project folder, so I will search specifically in that project folder for that person's name, and you will have a far, far better chance of finding that email. Next one, create filters. Some colleagues do this, and they do find it quite useful. So if you get tons of emails from specific people or specific sign-ups and you don't want to unsubscribe, so say like university announce, you think, well, I don't want to delete them all, but I don't want them sitting in my inbox. You can set up a filter, so you can put who it's come from, what the subject may be, if it's got certain words. So you put those in, and then you get this next option. And it tells you what you want to do. It gives you options what you want to do with it. So do you want to skip that email to the inbox, archive it? Do you want to mark it as read? Do you want to star it? So if you get an email, say I get an email from Simon Dixon, do I want to star them? Do I want to make those stand out because they're quite important? Do I want to forward it to another address? Do I want to automatically delete it? Do I want to mark it as important? So there's various things you can do. Might be useful for certain things.
How do you do that again? I haven't done it before, but I can't remember what you go to.
So you go to, I've got to remember now, it is, I think, is it in settings, or I think it is in search. If you hit the search, you can then create the filter, and then when you put that in, and then kind of click this button here, it will then bring up this option. If you're struggling, come and see me. I'll show you. And then it brings up this. You can also do it where you can apply a label, so it will automatically put it in a folder. Undo send. Has anyone used this? It's really, really good. It's in your settings for email, and it's down, where is it? There, enable undo send. You can set the time limit. So what it is, it allows you to send an email, and then it sits there with like a little box, sending, cancel, and you can suddenly go cancel. So suddenly, you know, you send an email and you think, oh, I forgot to CC someone in, which is a common thing. You can pull it back within that time limit. So 20 seconds, loads of time, and I've done it loads. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good.
It really, really is a useful tool.
So does that mean that every email that you send will wait 20 seconds before it's actually sent?
It'll just kind of sit with this little, it won't sit there, but you'll get like a little pop-up, little thing there, and you can quickly just hit it to pull it back. I found that if you actually say, if you hit the send and then open up another email and start hitting that, then there's a tendency it will have disappeared. But if you kind of hit it and then go on to do some other work, it sits there. So it is very useful, because I say one of the big things is people go, actually I don't need to reply to all, or actually I do need to CC some people in. It's a big common one.
When you say it disappeared, does that mean you can't do anything with it anymore?
Once it's gone, it's gone.
No, but you say
once that little pop-up.
Second email.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Don't quote me, but I've noticed there's certain things you can do where it will disappear earlier, and I think starting another email might
mean that it doesn't go the 24 to 20 seconds, or.
Yeah, I think it just wipes that little option off there. So.
But normally, when you hit send on an email and you think, I forgot to send the attachment, you think of it there and then.
You only need those 3-4 seconds to kind of do it. You don't sit there for 20 seconds unless you kind of go, you know, sort of like unless you like a little bit of adventure in your life and just try and time it out. Another one is well, you know, sometimes you've got to give a bit of a trick. Send an email to the dean of school saying you quit, and 19 seconds undo send. Google Docs. Is everyone using Google Docs? You're using it collaboratively. So in 2012, we decided to write a paper about bite size, and we had a journal we could publish in. And I made, she now is associate professor, Jenny Freeman, and Claire Beecroft. I made them write the paper in Google Docs, which they didn't, which Jenny was not particularly fussed about, but she appreciated in the end. And we wrote this paper synchronously. So I put 1 hour in our diary on these dates, because I actually found all the revisions. You can find a revision history of your docs. So on those days there, we wrote the paper for 1 hour. So I put 1 hour in, invited them in, and we all sat there at our computers. And I wrote the methodology, and Jenny, who's a statistician, she did all the results. And we wrote it all in once. And that paper, 6,000 words, was written, I reckon, in around 9 to 10 hours, because we did it absolutely. There's no kind of like hardcore research here. It's a paper writing about what bite size is. And we did a survey with around 80 staff responded. We crunched all their kind of feedback, and we were able to write a paper. You couldn't do that with a systematic review. You couldn't do it with something that you're writing for NICE, because the reference management isn't good enough, the integration. But we were able to write that with around 15 references, and we did it. that kind of peer pressure to get it through. We would never have written that because it wasn't an urgent piece of work. So Docs is a brilliant way to collaborate live synchronously with other people on things, and it works very, very nicely and very smoothly.
Can I just, the only concern we've had is when I've worked with Google Docs, people have said they've got lost. The documents they've had in Google Docs have got lost.
Really, that's quite interesting.
So they're, iffy about using them.
I mean, cause there is a tendency, again, not to be able to, there's a slide coming up, there's a tendency sometimes to struggle to find the doc.
Right.
Because if you get loads and loads and people are chucking them in, there sometimes can be a tendency that you just can't find the actual doc. If you're the owner, it's a bit easier to find than if you're not the owner.
Yeah, this is someone that was the owner, I think.
I mean, if there is specific concerns of these happening, then it's something that Kicks have to look into, because obviously this is something we have a license with Google, and it will be no good if it's putting people off from using it, because my experiences are pretty good. I'd say they're as good as they are with Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word still causes me to get angry and upset, and Google Docs does. There's no greatness about either of them, but they both kind of got their flaws. So it would be interesting if these sort of things happen again, to kind of raise it up and have a look as to what's happened. But I've not had any particular problems with that. One thing to do is, as you get more and more files, is to organise them and use folders. So start to create new folders and hit the new button in the top left-hand corner, and then you can create folders and you can put your files into those specific folders. So it has a file structure like Microsoft Explorer does. And with this, you can put multiple files. You can put a file in multiple folders and things like that. So again, it's a good kind of practice to have. It's not essential, but if you're like me, who's been using this virtually as I hardly ever use Microsoft Word, but I don't do any work for the NHS and things that dictate I have to do stuff like that. So I've been doing this now for about 5 years, so I'm quite lucky in that way. So once you start to use it more, you do need to make more use of the folders. And again, there is an advanced search. So again, if you go to the little search pull-down thing, you can search for file types. You can search for what it may be open with, what program it might open with. You can search to who's actually owning that file as well. So again, it's another way in case you struggle. Because sometimes it does seem a bit like, well, I'm convinced that file should be here, and it's not in this particular list. And then you do an advanced search and you find it that way. So it is useful. Google Forms are brilliant for capturing data from the smallest little kind of questionnaires to larger ones. I have to add the caveat that if you're collecting non-anonymised data, then the information governance policy in ScHARR kind of prohibits that. You're advised not to do that. But if you're collecting relatively tame kind of data and fairly safe, then it's fine to go with. And it's very, very intuitive. Google, if ever you use SurveyMonkey, it's as easy as that, if not a little bit easier. Number 10, people don't realise, but you can build sites. You can build Google sites. So this is something I built very quickly for a series of videos I made for students called Learn Hacks. So you can make a very quick and simple site. You can make multiple sites. You can even make them collaborative, share them with people, even sort of like share it with a personal account so you've got access should you leave. We've got all the ability to blog. Everyone's got the ability to blog. Here's the ScHARR Student e-journal, which is done in Blogger. So Blogger has lots of designs. So the ScHARR Library blog is done in Blogger, the Heads blog is done in Blogger, and the RATS blog is done in Blogger. Public Health blog is done in WordPress. So again, anyone wants to set a blog, really good for getting students. If you work with students and want to get them to do some reflective practice, get them to do a blog. You can make it collaborative so they've all got their own individual sign-in account and they can go in there, and you can set it up so that they write something, it saves as a draft, and you can then kind of oversee it before it gets published, so it's useful. All these things, docs, sites, blogger, calendar, forms, presentations, they're all collaborative. You can share the rights, you can give rights for people to comment, people to edit, people to view, so you can change all the different individual rights. There's Google Groups, which allows people to form groups. So you can, again, if you've got a specialist little group and you want some way to have a conversation and you want to be able to archive it and you want to move away from email, then there are Google Groups and you can set those up and people can subscribe to them, get updates. They're not massively used on campus, but it is an option. It's only in the same way we've got these kind of mole groups within the VLE. We've all got a YouTube account, which many people don't realise. So you can make videos and upload them to your YouTube account. So here's one that I did, and this is a piece of coursework I did, and it's had 11,500 views on YouTube. So it's worth putting them up. I think it will be the most viewed video in ScHARR that ScHARR's made. So, again, it's a good thing to know that we've all got a video account. We can put videos up, we can share videos. Presentations. This presentation is done in Google Presentation. I used to use PowerPoint, then I moved on to Prezi. I use various ones on my tablet, but I do all my presentations now in Google Slides. It means I can adapt them at the last minute. I spoke at an international conference 3 weeks ago, and as normal they say, well, the slides in 2 weeks in advance. I went, no, I'm giving you a URL, and they said, well, the web connection might not be great. And I went, you're an international conference about the internet. If your web connection's rubbish, then that's your fault. I think I'm right to say that. And I was allowed, and I basically sent them my slides, and then a few days before I was able to change them. So I had the complete rights on it. So it is brilliant because you can then export it as a PowerPoint. You can still upload these to SlideShare, and they've got all the animations on, and they're just very nice and lightweight. And I've not carried a USB stick around me for about 4 years, so my job dictates I've got to kind of test out the technology, so I have to do these sort of things and see how I go on. So.
And how does it compare to PowerPoint in terms of actually producing the presentation?
It's fine. Well, this is it. It's just like and I can embed videos into it. You know the whole shockwave thing you used to do with PowerPoint, ActiveX and all that sort of stuff you used to do if you wanted a video embedded in PowerPoint. It was a complete pain because you'd play it, you'd go away, you'd load it up again, you'd have to do all the same stuff again, change the URL of the YouTube video. This will just embed a video in from YouTube, and it's just, as long as it's on an internet connection, but I have to test this theory. It's like, I can't go around doing the job I do and not do stuff like that. So it means I'm not being a deliberate pain in the backside. I'm trying
Why
to.
did you move on from Prezi? I mean, I don't like Prezi. It's one of my movies.
I did like Prezi, and it was very good. And it was very good for making storylines and kind of trying to change how you gave a presentation. But what I like about this is the fact that I can now export it to PowerPoint, which you do with Prezi. But I can also like embed the video in quite nicely, and it's just I can get it straight onto SlideShare. I can just download it, and I can just keep adapting and make copies of presentations, because a lot of my presentations are very sometimes similar from another one, so I just kind of bounce it on, and I can directly just share a URL to it. I mean, Prezi is great. I'm not liking Prezi, but I kind of feel like this now serves my needs really now. I think it is really, really good. I mean, a good example is I was going to London to give a presentation. It was at the Wellcome Trust, and my train got basically cancelled at Derby, and there was no trains heading south. And my presentation was at 12 o'clock, and it was like 8:30 in the morning. And I kind of contacted the organiser via Twitter. It was able to show them a picture that my train wasn't going anywhere. And so I'm going to try and get back home. That's how I got their mobile number, so I was able to ring up because I was able to tweet her. She was able to say, here's my mobile. Rang her up, and I said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get my wife to pick me up from Matlock, so I can't even get back to Chesterfield. And I will present from home on Google Hangouts. And on the way home, that morning, I'd had an email from a journal editor asking if I would write a paper based on a blog I'd written, and I was able to get home and bang that in as a slide to show how blogging can lead on to other things. So I was able to quickly change my slides. They'd already got the link to the slides. They wanted to put it up. It's just, I don't know, it works for me. So join the community. We've got Google Plus, which is Google's relatively poor attempt at Facebook. It's their 6th iteration of social media. But a good example is that there are communities out there, and there may be health communities, research communities. There is a very good learning technology community out there. A good example of this is 3 years ago. David Reed, who works for the English Language Teaching Centre, produced a load of tech guides, and he printed them all off, and he put this picture, and I saw them and said, hey David, they look great. Could I possibly see them, or maybe could you share them with me? And he said, hi Andrew, just shared them with Google Docs with you. So the community opened me up to a resource which then I was able to get directly into my Google Drive. So there's a very good learning technology community in Sheffield that's online. But again, it's whether you can find a community that's worth being involved with or start one. But we've all got a Google Plus account. Calendars, you can make additional calendars, and I've run out of time here, but we can make additional calendars. So for an example, I've made a calendar which is my productivity calendar. No one else can see that calendar bar me. In the morning it tells me to eat a frog, which is like to do a job that I don't want to do, which is really hard and get it out of the way. It tells me at 1 o'clock to meditate. I very rarely do meditate. But it also tells me when perhaps I should check my email and read. I don't always pay heed to that calendar, but it is like a little thing that I can see all the time that's in my timeline, that's not blocking out because you can see my calendar is quite busy, so it's not blocking out my calendar time, but it's like an overlay calendar. I've also got my personal calendar in there as well. So my personal calendar is shared, so I've got all my birthdays in there when I've got to MOT the cars and stuff like that. So I've got all these calendars kind of connected and overlaid, so you can make additional calendars. 18, we've got Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts are great. It's like Skype and it works really, really well. And this was one that I did present at a faculty event about 3 years ago. So I presented and had a Hangout and it brought in Claire to talk on the big screen. And we had a collaborative document writing and Dan Smith was there as well. And we just showed that you can have this if you do any kind of distance kind of support, if you're like a supervisor to a student. You know, I know, is it Kunal was one of our PhD students, and he had Hangouts, I think, with Aki was his tutor, and he was in London, and she would have the Hangouts with him and give him PhD support. So it's a really, really good way, again, to collaborate and work. 19, there's Hangouts on air, which you can join. So this is one that I joined, which was based in the US, so that's me in the bottom left-hand corner. So you can set up these Hangouts on air. University haven't really rolled them out at the moment because there's been various issues over the last few years, but it allows you again to go online and deliver a webinar and invite people to come along and attend. And 20, if you've got a tablet or preferably, well, a tablet rather than a phone, install the apps. So you can then do stuff on your tablet as well, so you can write on your docs. You can have a Hangout. You know, I've had a Hangout on a train and stuff like that. Again, it's quite often, quite often it might be seen that I'm trying to show off. I'm trying to make sure these things work. I want to know if they're any good. There's no point me telling people to do things and I've never actually used it. So, and just quickly, time to remember, this is some old slides I found. So just time to remember some old friends no longer with us, or no longer with me. SurveyMonkey, which I used as part of my MSc dissertation years ago, so no longer used. Attachments, obviously with Google Drive, don't need attachments. Internet Explorer. If anyone's here using Internet Explorer now, just please stop using Internet Explorer. Unless you have to work in the NHS, there's no excuse. And CD-ROMs. So a few things that have gone in the past. That's it. I've overrun. Sorry. Hopefully there's a few useful things there. Feel free to contact me if you've got any questions.
You haven't mentioned the one thing that I'm most interested in, which is Google Sheets, which I don't find very user-friendly, actually, compared to Excel.
Yeah, well, they haven't got the functionality or they've got certain things that Excel haven't, like the fact they're web-based. So you can set up fields to specific URLs and things like that. You can do fancy things like actually get it that people can only manipulate certain parts of a spreadsheet, I think. It's got some very, very clever things that's web-based.
I'm still exploring it now.
But it's not got that.
It's a bit frustrating. It doesn't do what I want. It doesn't have the functionality of Excel.
Yeah, and I would say stick with Excel. You know, it's not like modelers. You're not going to be using Google spreadsheets for your models. So it is something that's far. The thing is with Google, they're kind of they're very good at what they do because obviously they're one of the biggest tech companies in the world. But they do get some things horribly wrong. And a good example is they were going to get rid of appointment slots in calendar. And it's suddenly like everyone who's like a personal tutor. Why? Appointment slots are great. We can allocate slots in our calendar that students can sign up to, and they can't do anything else, and they couldn't see the point of it. And it was ridiculous. Google Classroom came out. So someone set up as a tutor in Sheffield and said, "I've set up Google Classroom. Join up and have a go." So a few of us joined up, and then realised we couldn't set up as tutors because we were students. Because Google was working on secondary education, where you have tutors and students, whereas in higher education we are quite often both. So they do have a bit of a kind of a misunderstanding of various things, you know. And a good example was when they turned off Google Reader. Google Reader was a fantastic tool, brilliant for academics. They turned it off to loads and loads of criticism, and the next day Feedly, which does the same job, gained 50 million users. So they do get things wrong. Google.
When they turn things off and it bounces back to them, do they not turn them back on again? Is it always just a one-way traffic that they decide they're not going to do anything? And
They've done. There's certain things like the appointments. There was pressure, and appointments were kept, but they've got a clear idea of what they want to do, and their biggest competitor is Facebook. You know, Facebook eats into their ad revenue, which it didn't 5 years ago. Now it's eating into their ad revenue, and that's why Google are desperate to get things like social media right, to try and make it easy that people get accounts, because they're panicking that they're losing. Basically, Facebook's becoming the dominant kind of platform. So it's...
Why should people use Internet Explorer? You mean as opposed to Firefox or something?
Firefox is fine. Chrome is great because you get loads of apps with Chrome. You get lots and lots of great little apps. So if ever you use things like Mendeley, if you use things like readability, things like if you want to shorten URL addresses, you can get little buttons that you just click and it'll do it for you. Firefox is a bit heavy. And also, when you search the top URL bar on Chrome, it's searching Google. Whereas when you do it in Microsoft, you're going to be searching Bing. Bing isn't as good a search engine. And it's more lightweight, it changes more quickly. Microsoft have been very, very lazy over the past few years in kind of getting with what things, you know, that's why Google Drive appeared, because they understood that Microsoft Word was great, but it didn't take into account the internet. And Internet Explorer was kind of operating in a world 10, 15 years ago. You know, the NHS has been, obviously they've got a track record of being very slow to keep up with this kind of stuff. But Chrome does seem to be a lot better. It's not for everyone. I mean, I personally, if you don't like Chrome, then would use Firefox. I used Firefox for a few years. Firefox is fine.
I use all three.
Searches Google, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah. But say Chrome is very lightweight, but the extensions are fantastic. And the thing is, I mean, I presume you get this now with Internet Explorer, but if you sign up to, if you sign in with your account, whether it's your personal account or your university account into Chrome, then whenever you kind of use a home and a work computer, they completely mirror. So you get, as well as getting all your bookmarks the same, which Internet Explorer didn't allow you to. Whenever you had to go on a new computer, you had to import your bookmarks, whereas Chrome did that automatically a few years ago. It gives you all these same extensions. So all the extensions you put on, and these are like little apps, like on your tablet device, you put them into your browser. So like I say, when I want to do a presentation and I want to kind of I don't use long URLs, these are all slides now, but I don't use old long URLs, I use Bitly and tiny URL. So there's a little Bitly plugin, so if I go to Creative Commons and I've got that image open, I just hit that plug, it opens up a little box, and there's my URL, just copy and paste. So it's having little things like that, just making my life a bit easier, really, and things like readability. So readability is really good, you put that plug in, you go to a complex web page with loads of kind of widgets and pages, and you hit the readability and it just strips it all off and leaves you with a clean page of text, which is the main article. So it's just having things like that. It makes my whole experience a lot
What I use
better.
it for is for different things. I use Internet Explorer for the costing software, so I can see that. I use Gmail, Firefox for my personal emails.
Yes.
I use Chrome for all that. Then I can identify on the screen.
I do the same.
I know.
I do the same, because with two screens, I've got Firefox and I've got Chrome. Yesterday, I actually had Internet Explorer open because I was uploading the Pemberton lecture to 2 different accounts, and I wanted my account, so I had 3 internet accounts open. So I will occasionally use Internet Explorer, but it's
the differentiation when you know.
It is, yeah.
It's easier to me.
Yeah, and also like if you sign into your phone through Google, you're in danger of getting like a university good thing, because I don't want to see emails from work on my phone.
No.
So.
Has anyone ever signed into their Google account on their phone and found that they're in... Well, I've got 2 university Google accounts,
Right.
and I've signed into one university account, and my emails from my other account are still there. And that makes me worry about security sometimes.
Is it? How have you signed in?
Logging out, I think.
So it's all about logging out because...
No, I've signed in through Muse on the internet on my phone.
Yeah.
Go into Google Mail, sign it all back out, want to check my other Google account, my other job, sign in, oh, that's still my same email from the first account, and I think, well, that can't
No,
be
there
right.
are two levels of logging out. I think,
Yeah.
aren't there?
Yeah.
Well, you log out of
News
your
and then there's logging out of
Gmail.
Novell or something, isn't
You log out of Gmail and you log out of News.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I've had somebody who's
And-
tried to log in as Steve Julius,
Yeah.
and it's come up with my emails and done it on mine.
Yeah.
It's very common on machines like this. I've been in here several times where, you know, you get into the email and it's someone else's email. It's very common because people don't realise it is a dual login.
Yeah.
Google, you know, the University of Sheffield is not hosting Google. Google's
it? Yeah.
hosting
Yeah, so
Google.
you have to log out of Google and then you log out of Muse, and a lot of
Yes.
people just log out of Muse and
Yes,
assume.
very common. It's very
They
common.
log
I've
out.
sent emails around ScHARR a couple of times. So.
No, but I've logged out of both
Right.
and logged back in.
Bar clean your cookies. I would contact Kicks.
Yeah, I've told them before. They're like, oh.
I'd chase them up if you.
And how do you set up another calendar? Is it just open?
Thank you.
Just like
Thank
a
you.
calendar?
Set up another calendar.
That's really,
Yeah.
sometimes you want to like organise your own time, don't you? But you don't
Oh, yeah.
want it to be publicly
People
available.
know you're going to tap dance.
So just go to my calendars, create new calendar,
Right.
and then
You would think
there you go. Give it your name, blah 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 blah, and
So
then
and
you
then
can,
other people just can't see that.
You can share it. Or
you can make it public, or you can share it. So my personal calendar is shared with my wife,
Right.
and my work calendar is shared with my wife as well.
Right.
So she can see my work calendar.
Yeah.
Although it's all busy because I don't see how many times I go for lunch. I don't go that often. But I think it's that she can see, she
I
can.
feel like that's a business from 12 till 1. Do you think she can crack that code?
I think I can't remember now. I think it is shared that she can't see that. But yeah, you can just create multiple ones. So.